So, folks, here with my comics for this week, and this week was a pretty big week for me. Again, for me, it might not be a lot of issues for like uh, someone that I don't know. Some people probably get more issues than me, is what I'm trying to say. But was a pretty big week in issues for me. So first off. Action Comics number 13, which was a Halloween-themed issue called The Return of the Phantom King, or The Ghost in the Fortress of Solitude, or whatever it was called. This was a great fucking issue. Like, this... Action Comics is one of those series where it's like, one issue, you're like, what the fuck did I just read? And then the next issue, you're like, oh my god, this was the best thing I ever read. I've really got to find a lot of the back issues for this series. I've really got to get a lot of them, and just to kind of have it all and all that, right? I don't want to spoil what this is about. It's obviously kind of like a little ghost story, but there's something more in this that will give you a lot of feelings. Also, the artwork was by Travel Foreman, and it was great to see him do something again, and it was just fantastic. Earth 2, number 5. Great story. It's getting there now. It's getting better. The ending cliffhanger was kind of got me being like, oh shit, let's see what happens, It starts off, and you see a cameo from Golden Age Sandman Wesley Dodds, which is pretty cool. And he's also Canadian now, too. I mean, yeah! We don't have enough Canadian comic characters, okay? And it's Earth 2. It's still doing awesome. It's the Justice, like I said before, it's the Justice League book that the Justice League wants it to be, but it will never be. I love it. It's awesome. It's just, yeah, it's awesome. Animal Man number 13. Thought this was good. That was pretty good, but not in love with it, to be totally honest. The artwork was really good. Basically, what we have in this issue, Buddy Baker comes out of the rot, which for him, the last issue of Animal Man and Swamp Thing, which was the prelude to Rot World, basically what happened was they went into the rot and they were falling through this black abyss that had like a bone ladder on it. And it felt like hours for them, but now they're out and it's like 1 year later. And the rot is like completely taken over. There's one stronghold left for the red, as we see in this issue, and there's one stronghold left for the green, which we see in Swamp Thing, which I'll get to shortly. The main superheroes that survive are Black Orchid, Steel, John Henry Irons, and Beast Boy. And it shows them just going through and showing Buddy around, and he confronts the rot version of Hawkman, which is kind of sad. I saw it up on like one of the comic book websites. There was like a picture of him, and it's sad to say that this is like the best version of Hawkman since the New 52 started. Oh god. And so we show up to where the Red has their last stand, their last point of defense, this big giant kind of utopia that the totems made. The totems sacrifice themselves to make this gigantic kind of vast kingdom-looking place. And we see Shepard is there, and we see John Constantine is there, and he kind of tells, Buddy that, yo, your family's dead. And at the end of it kind of had a pretty crummy kind of cliffhanger, to be totally honest, because we kind of know that they're dead. Like, it's been it's really just been said like your family's gone, like humans are gone, and it just ends with like Buddy puking out some of the rot into his mom's face, and she's like, "Oh, it's so sweet," and she's infected and shit. So, yeah, but I'm still going with Rot World because it is good. It's just it is taking kind of long uh, for Animal Man, I find, and maybe it might be it's Lemire's writing and all that stuff, which I usually do like, but he's taking so long to get this stuff done with, and I hope by the end of Raw World, it just makes perfect sense and all that stuff. Swamp Thing 13, we got Yannick Paquette back on art, which is awesome, and we see Alec Holland come down and meet up with Poison Ivy and Deadman, who are the last agents of the Green, and they go to the last stronghold of the Green, and basically the Rod attacks them, and they have these kind of like clones of Swamp Thing help out. They made these kind of like centennial kind of Swamp Things, but they aren't Swamp Things. But you get the point, I hope. And it shows more of what happened during when they were away and the rot took over. And that's one thing I would have wanted to see with Animal Man, as well. Like it shows off in this book, like it shows off the battles that some of the superheroes had with the rot. Um, and by the end of it, they're going into a fight with the rot infected Teen Titans. Um, so the next issue is going to be them fighting the Teen Titans and all that. And by the end of it, it also has the cliffhanger of the fact that Abigail, I think, died in a plane crash going to where the Rot's fortress is, which is in the mountains. So yeah, I honestly preferred Swamp Thing over Animal Man this week. Um, here's hoping that it picks up. But I'm going to be going through the whole Rot world anyway. So next we have Legends of the Dark Knight #1. Now, Legends of the Dark Knight, for those of you who don't know, was an old initiative that DC had to basically give their creators that were under contract with them the right to do anything with Batman and the Bat family and all that. Legends of the Dark Knight were Batman stories that could have happened but never happened. They were basically just stories that were out of continuity and you can just take with a grain of salt. I believe No Man's Land was a part of that. Grant Morrison did the story Gothic as a part of that. The story Venom was a part of that, among numerous others. And what DC's doing is they restarted that initiative, but what they're doing is they're putting the stories up digitally first for a 99-cent price tag, and then what they'll do is they'll wait a little while and they'll take a couple of those stories and they'll compile them in an issue and release it in a printed form, and that's what they did with this. The 3 stories that they have here, the first one is written by Damon Lindelof of Lost fame, and he also wrote Prometheus, and it's illustrated by one of my favorite artists, Jeff Lemire, and it's so good to see Jeff Lemire's artwork on Batman. It's just awesome, even if it's like a little 10-page story. Like, it was just a damn good story. That basically, it was a weird story, and I can see a lot of people not liking it that much. But when you just sit down, you think about it, it was very good, and I really liked it. And the artwork in it was just fucking phenomenal. It was called The Butler Did It, and it pairs Jeff Lemire. Another thing that should be said, Jose Villarrubia. I probably butchered that last name. He does the coloring for Jeff, also on Sweet Tooth, and he's doing the coloring here. And he's gotten better as a colorist for coloring Jeff's stuff anyway. And Jeff's colored work it's very muted. It's very dull looking. It's very brown and gritty and dirty looking. and it fits his art style really well. The second story, which is called All of the Above, which is written by Jonathan Larson, and J.G. Jones is doing the art. Now, the story was okay. I liked it. It was a simple kind of Silver Age-esque story, but the artwork was actually the high point. Now, I'm not the hugest J.G. Jones fan. I don't like his interiors at all, usually. I appreciate the talent the guy has. I think his cover work is far more significant than his interior work, but the interiors in this were fantastic, and I was actually surprised by it. Um, and I didn't even know J.G. Jones did a story for this thing, and when I saw it, I was like, oh, J.G. Jones did a story? Oh, great. And then I read it, and I was like, this was good. I was pleasantly surprised by it. And the third story, which is another one of the best ones, written by Tom Taylor and penciled by Nicola Scott, is called The Crime Never Committed. And basically, that is a story. It's so simple, like, it doesn't even matter if I spoil it, but it's just Batman and Robin go and basically stop this guy from committing a robbery at an aquarium that he works at, that he's a security guard at. And they just take him to the roof, and they sit him down, they're like, look, if you do this, you're going to fuck it up somehow, and this is why. And it's just such a great story, and it was just so good. So I highly recommend this. It's 3 short stories, $3.99 cover. I mean, come on, that's not bad. Like, you can do that. I highly recommend it. Next we have For Watchmen Rorschach, number 2. I'm getting tired of these Before Watchmen stories, but I gotta admit, I did like this one. I'm gonna stay with it for the 4 issues. Brian Azzarello is not doing a good job at all on Comedian. I'm done with that. I just can't fucking do it anymore, but this is good. I like this. The first issue, I was kind of like, this doesn't feel like Rorschach that much, and that was the problem I found with Brian Azzarello, is that he couldn't tap into the characters correctly. It didn't feel like the comedian when he was writing him. And the last issue, it didn't feel like Rorschach when he was writing him. But this one, it straightened out all those problems, and it feels like Rorschach. More so, I find. And plus, the artwork by Lee Bermejo is just fantastic. So I'm definitely sticking with it. It was very good. One kind of complaint that I had, that I was discussing with a friend of mine who read this as well, I found the end was a little bit abrupt. But other than that, you know, I don't really have too many complaints about this issue. It was pretty good. And finally, we have Daredevil End of Days, number 1 of 8, by Brian Michael Bendis, David Mack. David Mack is also writing it with Brian Michael Bendis, and pencils by Klaus Janson, with finished art and paintings by Bill Sienkiewicz. Oh boy. Okay. If you are so glad about what they're doing with Daredevil now by brightening him up with the Wade stuff, I wouldn't recommend this. I love Daredevil anyway. Daredevil is my favorite Marvel superhero. He's one of my favorite superheroes of all time. And I like this. The artwork was fantastic. It was a horribly beautiful looking book. I say horribly beautiful because it was very ugly looking. It was very dirty looking, and that it's a very dark story. It basically starts off with Daredevil getting the shit kicked out of him in Hell's Kitchen, and then this guy, I don't know what villain it is. It kind of looks like Bullseye, but I don't know if it is him. He takes his staff. Daredevil says something. He says, Mapone. That was his last word. And he just sticks his fucking club in his head. And everyone's just taking pictures of it and recording it with like a camera phone and all that. And it's like a very pathetic kind of death. And it follows Ben Urich trying to figure out what the word meant and figure out more about his death and like why this happened and circumstances surrounding his life and all that for the last couple of years. I liked it. Again, I'm a giant Daredevil fan. But if you're just in the long haul for the Wade stuff, where it's not as dark and you're like kind of sick of all that dark Daredevil stuff, then I can't recommend you picking it up. The writing was pretty good. I thought the writing was okay. I liked the narration in it by Ben, and yeah, I enjoyed it. All right, so that's everything. I also got Earth, or not Earth Two, Dial H, number 5. But the thing was, I didn't. I need to catch up on back issues from that, so I didn't read it yet. So I'm just putting that up on my to read pile, and I'm gonna get a lot of the back issues for that. As well, I didn't even read the Zero issue for that either, but I have it. So yeah. So that's about it. What more can I tell you? Read good comics. Have a good one.